Hello.
Hello.
I'm Cass.
And I'm Emma.
And this is Honeydew.
Podcast.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to say podcast, but
I just like it because it rhymes with your name, kind of.
Ah, it does.
I'm Emma, and
We're
I'm
nothing
Cass,
if
and
not
this is
rhymers.
our podcast, which
There
I
you
just
go.
think is fun, and it kind of rounds out the tune.
Well, if I ever go out on my own, I'm going to call my podcast.
Podcast. It is my podcast.
I'm Cass. This is my podcast.
I took a bold move, and not that I ever steer away from talking about the podcast because it's one of my jobs. And But I was a little drunk at a happy hour for my 9 to 5.
Yeah, you were.
And I was like telling them about it because I'd worked with them for months and like it just never came up. So I was like, oh yeah, this is what I do. And I was like,
fuck.
Talk about fucking. But then I was like, I showed them our cover art and I was like, yeah, and my tits are out, so enjoy that. I'm literally like someone that they have to see professionally every day. And that's what I chose to say.
I love that you could have just not added that. Like, it didn't add anything to the situation. It definitely just took away. But I love it for you.
Just took it all right back away.
It added discomfort.
Yep. And I've just ignored the topic since I've seen them. Just like, pod what? Tits? No, I don't know. I don't know her. I also will never be attending a happy hour. Thank you, bye.
See, I figured you would have like gone to our website and then seen our suggested episodes of like how to eat ass the right way. That's always what I'm a little like if somebody professionally sees something. But then I'm like, that's why I'm here. Because this shouldn't be uncomfortable. It should be accepted.
Yeah.
We all eat ass on the weekends.
We all eat ass. Saturday to Sunday, we eat ass.
Friday night to Monday morning, I'm balls deep in an asshole. Face nose deep in an asshole.
Ew. What did I just see? I saw a meme and it was like the head of a penis and then like poop. And it was like, what are you doing here? So anal is where I'm looping this back to. But I don't even know why. It was just like one of those dumb swipe through accounts you can follow. It was like, hi, what are you doing?
Just your suggested? It says a lot about you.
My popular page was just full of that. Although it is full of a lot of like beautiful women. And I'll go on my boyfriend's and it is also a lot of beautiful women. But he'll like go to mine and he's like, so what do you look at? I'm like, not you.
Not your page.
Not your kind. I'm telling you that much.
I'm pretty sure my husband's like explore page is just dorky things. Yeah. It's like gaming stuff.
Yeah.
And
I was never worried.
Nothing remotely related to a woman or a man or anybody.
Or anyone.
No human or animal for that matter.
My ex's was just soccer. And so I was like, I don't have to worry about you.
Yeah.
You're not fun. You don't
You're
even follow
just
anyone
looking
fun.
at boring shit. I don't even want in.
I don't want in. I don't want to tap into this because there's nothing I could like have a fun jealousy fit about.
I know. Sometimes I'll check Jurgen's phone just to see if I can find
this should have been our toxic intro. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Just because I'm like, it'd be so nice to have something to feel angry about. It's like I'm already angry, but I want a channel.
I want a channel. I want
there
something
is
valid.
Never anything to be mad at that man about, which is a blessing. It is also the bare minimum. But
if we're being honest here.
But yeah, there's never shit. I do find stuff out about like family stuff.
You dig into some other deep hole.
Yeah, but nothing worth getting jealous over.
Yeah, bummer.
I know.
Anyways,
I have a little segue into this week's topic because I have been dreaming every night about having, it's a little more extreme than the topic, about having sex publicly. So every dream that I have, I am having public sex with my husband, but in like very weird ways.
Okay. Not
weird sex ways, but like weird situations.
Okay.
One time it was just on our deck.
Love it.
And it was cold. And it was just like dark. Nobody was there. So it was just kind of weird, but it was fun. And I woke up and I'm like, that's a great idea. And I was like, that's not a good idea. My porch is like damp and cold and metal.
Metal. I've done that before.
Yeah, I love that for you.
Yeah. Just once.
Once?
We hid in the back corner.
Current porch?
Current porch.
Nice.
Yeah, just to say that we did it.
I love that
hid
for
right
you.
in the corner. And we're like, okay, now let's go inside.
Squeeze back. Yeah. I'm assuming roommate wasn't home.
Correct. No. They're sitting in the living room.
She's just looking through the window at you.
Emma, stop. Turns
Please,
on the
I
light.
have company.
Ass just against the window. I'm sorry I'm expressing myself.
I'm sorry, you sex-shaming bitch.
I'm moving out.
I'm Jen. Take me off the lease.
What were the other things in the dream?
Well, last night I had a dream that I was in a mall with everyone from the debate team that I was on in high school, but we were all our current age. So, not ideal.
Not ideal.
And I was in a sports store for the night. I was staying there for the night.
You usually are at the mall.
And there was a couch, and that's where I was sleeping with my husband. Like, he was there too. I did not go to high school with him. He just got to be there. And we were like, it'd be a great idea to have sex on the couch right now. But there were like 2 people across the store, one of them being my ex. And it was so interesting. And then we had sex, and it was very obvious. And then
just in a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Then we just fell asleep. And next morning, I was in the dream, really stressed about getting all of my makeup off because I didn't take it off. It was a whole thing. I'm really anxious about washing my face tonight. That came through.
Well, how does that relate to today then? What do you mean?
Because we're talking about public displays of affection. Dun, 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 dun.
We really need to get a siren sound.
Why?
I don't love yours.
I'm done.
Just drop
Take me off the lease.
But yes, we are. We are talking about public displays of affection.
We're actually talking about Power PDA with Dr. Tara and
which is just so much more like I thought when we were discussing this, it was going to be the power of PDA, which it kind of is. But Power PDA is such a different display of like owning your sexuality in public rather than like I just thought it was making out super hard and that's like Power PDA.
Exactly.
But
it kind of is.
Kind of is, but just it's deeper than that.
Exactly.
And I don't know, it's so fucking interesting.
It's so good. We got political.
We sure did.
We got this did not go the way we thought it would, and I'm so glad that it didn't because we just talked about how important PDA is.
Right.
And on that note, we do talk a little bit about this in the episode, but I also want to mention we definitely realize that PDA is not safe for a lot of people, particularly queer people. And so we are not advocating that you do something that would put you in the way of danger. Yeah, and that sucks. You should be able to show your love everywhere and anywhere. You should be able to fuck anywhere.
Amen to that. But that part's illegal, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and
so
we can't. So
we'll
we also
work on that.
Talk about things that are illegal and where the boundaries are with PDA.
And there's options for everyone. Like if you can't or aren't comfortable displaying affection in public, you can do it like around people that you love and are comfortable with and are safe with. So
yeah. I just want to let Dr. Tara take the rest away because this gets so fun. You guys are going to have a great time.
Oh, you're going to love her.
So we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tara. I am a tenured professor of sexual communication at Cal State University Fullerton, a relationship coach here in Los Angeles, and I have a bustling TikTok, sex education TikTok with 1.4 million followers. I'm excited to be on Honeydew Me today.
We're so excited to have you. So thank you so much. What led to like your taking off? Like what really grabbed people on TikTok, like the information that you're sharing?
I think I'm saying things very unapologetically and, just I talk the way I talk in real life. I don't, dilute it down because it's educational, because in my mind, being outrageous and being educational can live in the same realm.
I mean, as it should, because that's how we connect with people. That's how we connect with our listeners. It's about being authentic, especially in like the sexuality realm, is how people feel connected to their community, I feel like.
Right. I completely agree. And every time I talk to my students in like a lecture voice, I feel like I'm losing their attention. But when I go like, hey, have you seen this? Is this vulva or vagina? Then they like perk up and they go, well, is it vagina?
Well, it also makes it easier to feel like you can be wrong too. Like you're not going to be chastised in front of your peers and be made to feel embarrassed for learning.
Yeah. Class has been really fun.
Good. Well, today we would like to get a class in session for PDA and how to do it, where to do it, and what it is. So could you first begin with what is the power of PDA or Power PDA?
Well, Power PDA is a new term actually coined by Bumble for the unapologetic, somewhat, depending on people's taste, slightly excessive public display of affection where the couple kind of just no longer gives a fuck about societal standards and norms and just go for it when they're in the mood. There's definitely critiques from different sides, and we can definitely talk about that today. There's also a lot of support for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about just unapologetically just, tongue down each other's throat when you feel like it, even though you're like at dinner?
Well, the first thing that pops into my head is Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker, because I feel like that is an example of Power PDA that I hear people talking about a lot right now. And for me, seeing them doesn't make me uncomfortable because I think I expect them to be like kind of out there regardless. When I think of me doing that, it makes me like red and nervous and sweaty.
See, I love it. I love like making out or being super affectionate in public. And yeah, I think that's, I guess I've seen people where I'm like, whoa, that is what we would say is Power PDA. But I like PDA. I've been with a lot of people and I'm currently with people who like don't. But yeah,
it's tough when there's discrepancy between like how much you like public display of affection and how much you don't, because I think for some people it's like, this is me showing my love regardless of where I am. And if I'm feeling it, I'm in the mood, I'm in the zone, I'm going to show you my affection. Versus for some people, it's like sex, love, and relationship is private. Like, it's almost like it's called relationship orientation. How do you view behaviors in a relationship? For some people, talking about sex, the way I talk about sex is way too much, right? It's way outrageous. Sex is private. It's just between me and my partner. I'm like, hey, I respect that. Private is cool too, as long as you guys talk. Because the issue is when you don't. But yeah, I think it's just a different relationship orientation. The interesting thing is though, because it's a new thing, there isn't really any empirical study about people's true perception of it. So we only hear social commentaries. And I've been reading them up quite a lot because I was writing an article about it. So from what I've learned is there is more support from Gen Z and then less support from millennials and older.
Okay.
So that makes sense in my head in terms of like comfortability with your body, with sex in general. I feel like that shifts over those generations as well and aligns with those beliefs.
I feel like I've only ever seen my parents like hold hands in public. And beyond that, I feel like that's also, this could go down a rabbit hole of how I interpret like how you should publicly, treat your partner, but whatever. But yes, it feels like with older generations, you're like, this is nice. This is intimate.
This is nice. Just a little finger on the shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. So is that where you're seeing, because you said in the beginning there's like critique and support. So is the critique coming from different generations and the support from like today's teens and young adults?
So I'm seeing critiques from older people, but also conservative Gen Zs. There's a big group of conservative Gen Zs where being proper and following kind of old school traditional decorum is something that they like strive for. And that's just, it's a different orientation. In my book, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever you feel happy and comfortable with. Now, do I love Power PDA? Hell yeah, I do. Yeah, I give no fucks. I'm like, if I'm making out with my partner and I'm super into him, I'm going to be making out with my partner. I give no fucks. However, my partner, like you said, like, I mean, you know, it depends on your partner too, right? It takes two or more to tango. I just want to also be respectful of their boundaries because you don't know your partner or partner's boundaries, right? But one of the critiques is that they think it's improper or, you know, sex or, you know, public display of affection. That's a private thing where you do in private part of your life. Now, who decides what's private and what's not? Like, let me ask you this. Let's break it down to the very bottom of it to like, why are we uncomfortable with PDA and who decided long time ago what was okay and what was not okay? And why is it that now we follow these traditional norms and anything else that deviate from those norms become unacceptable, too much? Oh, I don't like these people, right? Becomes a judgment term. So yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when you asked in the beginning, like, how do you guys feel about PDA? And I was like, yeah, but except for this area. And it's like, now that you're making me think about why I would say that and what it even makes me feel, I guess I don't even know. Like, I just feel like I'm intruding on someone's personal time if I'm watching. And it feels like either they want me to watch, which more power to you, or I shouldn't be looking. But like, then why? If they're doing it out in public, that means I don't give a fuck if I look or not. So I guess it's just like a complicated feeling of what is private to that person and what am I doing that's either intruding on their privacy or my own personal privacy. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that it's a complicated feeling of like, what am I thinking?
I think your point is totally right. It's complicated, right? Because maybe they want you to watch. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they just want to show affection here and now and be in the moment and be mindful and just feel up their partner without caring about other people watching. You know, the critique of like, this is unacceptable, you know, this type of display of affection is only in private areas, like only at home. I wonder who decided that long time ago.
Right.
Should we kind of trace back?
I mean, yeah, we should.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even know where to begin besides just like extremely conservative people who think like, you know, who's preaching not teaching about sex. I wouldn't even know where to begin to trace it back because it's hard to put the blame game on. But it just feels very shamey. And whoever started preaching shame around sex, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too. When I started thinking about where does this come from? Why are we against affection? Right? Regardless of where. Like, why are we against that type of affection? And if it does nothing to harm us physically or otherwise, why are we upset? Or why are some people upset when they see other people engage in PDA? I think that's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the same argument when people are fighting against like gay marriage too. It's like, but why? If it has nothing to do with you, it has nothing that impedes on your life. You know, I feel like, I'm not saying those same people are saying no PDA, but it feels like the same type of argument where it's your belief, your preferences, what makes you feel comfortable. And why are you caring that much when you could take 2 steps to the left and like not see it or not be a part of that conversation?
I saw an interesting social commentary who said people who engage in a lot of Power PDA are actually really insecure people who behave that way just to like show the public and like gain almost like notoriety or, you know, acceptance or affirmation by having other people watch. And that like that behavior isn't true affection. It's just like for show. It's fake.
That's so interesting to me because in my head, that's not the case at all.
I know. every insecure man I've been with has not liked PDA. So that's really curious to me.
That's probably the truth. I'm thinking back now, the people that were very uncomfortable showing love outside of our home have always been people who were very uncomfortable with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think displaying affection, knowing that, it isn't necessarily socially accepted by everyone, I think that is courageous and takes a certain level of comfort with yourself and your partner. And to me, I think when somebody's pointing a finger and saying, I think that's wrong, or they're just so insecure, that's why they're doing it, I think that's more a reflection of the person saying it and their insecurity around that display of affection than it is the people displaying affection. Like, I would check in about how you feel about being touched and touching someone else see if there's anything there.
Mm-hmm. You're like, are you okay?
Yeah,
exactly.
So I know that Cass and I have different levels, like we're just saying, about around PDA and what we feel comfortable doing. Should there be a goal with where we should get to PDA? Or is this literally, like you're saying, like a relationship, like preference or a personality preference?
It is both. It's a preference, but also subjective. You know yourself best. So if refraining from PDA comes from the place of extreme shame and guilt, that's probably not the good type of refrain. But if the refraining is from, it's just my preference to like go at it when I'm home because I'm comfortable with my body, the way I look, or whatever it is, that's okay. If it's a true preference, I think that's okay. But I think it takes such like a deep level of thinking and know thyself in order to even get there, to realize like, oh shit, like I'm uncomfortable with PDA because like I think it's shameful because my parents taught me that way. Maybe my certain religion taught me that way, or, like it depends on where it comes from. Right. Like most things, when people are like, they say, I don't really like my partner to go down on me. You go, well, is it just a preference? Like I just don't come like from there. Or is it that, certain people, book, organization in the past have taught you that that's not the role of a woman, that you should be giving, not receiving.
I used to say that. It didn't hold true for me.
When I took a closer look, something changed.
Are we all pillow princesses?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Honestly, back to PDA, another commentary that I've read is that it is a political stance. Have you seen that?
No. I haven't seen that.
It's kind of like a fuck patriarchy, fuck tradition, fuck, like, like it's a true sexual liberation where you just don't give a fuck about what other people think. And this particular commentary was talking about how refreshing is it that you can just show love to the person that you love wherever the fuck you want. And how liberating does that feel when you can truly feel like you can do it and not like, oh no, like just kiss me on the cheeks. Right. Which is interesting. I feel like it's pretty liberating. Now, I don't go, tongue down my partner's throat in front of his like grandma. But I think that is a generational thing, right? Like I'm just like respecting the elderly. I know that they are uncomfortable due to their generation and how they grew up, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to do it. Yeah.
So
do you feel like it's a political stance?
What point do you stop caring then? So like if you're in public and you're like, I don't give a fuck if you're uncomfortable because this is like my relationship. And then you're like, but I care if people in my family or my friends are uncomfortable. So like, where do you draw the line of who you care about making potentially uncomfortable?
You guys are asking really good questions.
You're prompting us. So I feel like.
Yeah. I think that boundary is so subjective that there isn't like a textbook list of things that we can list out, like number 1, grandparents.
Yeah, you keep them at the top of your list.
Number 2, anyone with gray hair around you, don't do it. I guess that would be a good rule.
Yeah,
let's write that down. Okay, fair. Number 1, anyone with gray hair around you, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Number 2, if it's illegal, don't do it. Mm-hmm. We gotta talk about this. This is why it's a political stance. In some countries, it's still illegal. It's very much very taboo. Which is pretty crazy to think about. Something so innocent and loving like affection can become something that can really hurt you.
Well, and I think that same thing goes, it's not like even in this country, it's not always safe for people to display affection if they're in like queer relationships or any sort of relationship where there could be somebody that doesn't accept you. I think that can be really dangerous at that point.
You're right. It can be like dangerous.
I did not expect to get this deep about PDA, but I'm loving it.
It is political.
Yeah. It is. Well, along the same lines, it's like how far is too far to go in public?
Legally.
I mean, I guess you stop legally
you can't start fucking.
Yeah, but I can grope you.
Yeah.
If consensually, or like I can grab my ass. I could stick my hand like up your shirt because you can't see anything. I'm sorry I'm using you directly and staring into your eyes.
Yeah, you're staring at me really intensely.
What is this?
But like, I'm sorry, we need to flush this out right now.
I'm getting sweaty.
Yes.
But like, how far do you go? Can you go?
Well,
is it up to you?
Do
I have to ask you first? Like, how do I go?
You're asking a person that has very low bar.
Okay.
I would say, in my opinion, especially Power PDA, anything goes unless it's illegal. Like, obviously you can't show your private parts. Like if you're showing your genitals, that's illegal according to our law. So I think that's not okay. But I feel like if you were feeling it and if you were in a certain context where it's not like you're in the spotlight, anything goes. But if you're in the spotlight, for example, if you're like walking in the middle of Central Park and you're right in the middle and there's like 100 people around you and, people kind of check out each other in public park like that. If putting your hand in there and giving the other person a hand job motion might inflict a lot of, psychological disturbance on other people. I wonder then, like, is it more about being courteous versus power?
Right.
Like, can we be powerfully courteous?
Powerfully.
Yeah. Because then I'm thinking, like, I wouldn't be doing that because I'm trying to be courteous for people around me. But at the same time, what we're seeing in media, the term is coined after, of course, like Courtney and Travis, but then there's also, Megan and Machine Gun Kelly and other people who start doing more public display of affection. They're not doing like sexual stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they are giving a lap dance, a little humping, but they're not like literally giving a hand job. So I do think perhaps if it is mimicking having sex and it is in a public place where you're surrounded by a lot of people, I think perhaps that's a good boundary.
Yeah. I feel like in my head, when the genitals are like directly involved, that starts to feel like too much. Like indirectly, that's probably going to happen, but directly is when I'm like, that's probably a line for me.
And it's also, you can like find a little bush if you, like there's a lot of people love having sex outdoors.
Yes.
Find a little bush in the bush.
And then you can be powerfully courteous.
Yeah, exactly.
I love all these little loopholes we're finding.
Yes.
I guess with, still going, with Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox, that is an example
that I've heard, I don't hold it personally, but where they like, oh, you guys are doing this part for attention. Like this is like to sell someone on this like camp idea of your relationship. So in that example specifically, I have heard like you're putting on a show.
I have heard too, another social commentary is that this is toxic behavior and it's teaching, misguiding young people.
To what?
Like, I don't know. You guys are young people. What do you think?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is misguiding them to premarital sex, which is a belief that you hold yourself. You know, it's not something that everyone has to accept. Right. And that's like something that you can't force on someone. So if that's your personal belief, fantastic. But you can't say like affection.
I feel like healthy displays of affection, and I would consider that a healthy display of affection. I mean, I'm not in somebody's mind knowing whether or not they're trying to put on a show, but like that's not really my business if that's what gets them going anyways.
Right,
but
that
like,
too. It's like, don't yuck my yum.
I don't have children, but if I ever do, I would hope that they see healthy displays of affection, both like publicly and then at my house as well. Like, I think that's a part of understanding that you deserve pleasure, you deserve connection with someone, and there's no shame in connecting with someone. And I think if we say that needs to be kept at home, like that's so private, at least to me, and that's totally somebody's preference, that's great. When there's shame involved, to me, it does feel like you need to hide that in the same way that I think we talk about masturbation a lot of the time of like, nope, don't talk about that. Like, that's your business. Keep it quiet, kind of.
Which it contributes to this cycle of feeling shame around your body, sex, relationships, which I feel like just doesn't perpetuate a healthy relationship with any of those things. In the most extreme senses, not in the like, please don't grope me in public.
Right.
You know,
or do with consent.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
All of that is extremely well said. I do think that there is so much shame still attached to sexuality in our country, in our culture, that it will take another, 20, 30 years to like unpack and slowly normalizing different types of sexuality, right? Like now there's a lot of sex on TV comparing to TVs in the 90s or 80s, right?
Right.
But it still doesn't show different types of sex that are more marginalized, like different kinks, different fetishes, right? So there's still so much more to go. One thing that I know about PDA that perhaps theoretically why a lot of people are uncomfortable with it too is through the lens of expectancy violations theory. And I'm going to get a little academic, but
please do.
Expectancy violations theory states that we all have expectations that we have learned through socialization from young age. And all of these expectations that we have, we use them, we enact them by, let's say, oh, I expect that this person pays on a first date, or I expect that we don't have sex until the second date, or I expect that, when we live together, we will split the rent, or you will pick up the rent. Whatever it is, like it's through socialization that we expect certain things. And I think through socialization, we expect people to not do Power PDA. Right? And so now, how do we make affection more acceptable? Is just by talking about it. Is why this is so valuable, like having this kind of platform and talking about like, hey, PDA is cool. Let's care more about love and affection and healthy relationships and care less about what other people are doing and judging them. If you spend a lot of time evaluating other people's behaviors, you won't have time reflecting on your own. So I think through the lens of expectancy violations theory, we understand that people are angry at PDAs due to socialization. But now to change it is to socialize differently. And we are socializing differently right now by talking about this. So as long as more listeners go out and talk to their friends, that's going to change things in, this generation and multiple generations to come.
I love that.
Yeah. And I feel like the conversation also helps change people's attitudes towards what we see. And I know that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of like, we feel like it's shameful to, do PDA in public, but also like think about maybe the snap judgments that we have when we do see PDA or like aggressive power PDA in public, and the snap judgments that we've all made. We've been in a friend group and have made about the people who are engaging in that PDA, and how we can change that thought, like that initial thought as well. Like that conversation, I don't know, that could just change lives. I feel like I'm putting myself up here. I can change your life.
You were not all heroes wear capes.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Some watch people make out.
And change the thought and change their judgment.
Do some shit, man. I'm doing the Lord's work. What can I say?
One thing at a time.
Right? Your plate is full.
Yeah. I do think that you made a good point. If people listening are asking, well, what can I do to change that? Well, maybe change yourself. Right? Yeah. Next time you catch yourself making a judgment on other people for doing what they love to do without hurting you, maybe step back and go, why did I think like, ew, gross? How about you do you, boo?
Yeah.
Right? Like instead of like shifting that narrative in your head could be the first step that you'll do. And then of course, socialization, like interpersonal communication, talking about these things can really help change things.
If you want to start engaging in PDA and like changing your mindset by you're ready to like change and like physically be there and be present.
Be the change.
Be the change. But you're still a little
change you want to see in the world.
Change you want to see. How can you start pushing your own like boundaries comfortably without like really making yourself uncomfortable, or your partner who isn't used to it maybe yet?
I do think there is power to talking about things in advance, even though a lot of people feel it's uncomfortable and awkward to even mention, for example, if you're having coffee at home, to even mention like, hey, I'd love for us to do more PDA. It sounds like it would be a weird, awkward conversation, but let's normalize talking about all kinds of weird, awkward things. And even to say that is to start a conversation about how can we be more liberated in our affection, love, sexuality. And I think by talking about, hey, like, I'd love for us to do more PDA if you wouldn't mind, can really like turn the wheel on exploring more PDA and pushing your own boundaries a little bit. And of course, you don't have to do a full make out in front of everybody. You can perhaps just start by kissing on the lips and maybe kissing 5 seconds on the lips. See where that goes. Research shows that kissing 5 seconds allow oxytocin to release, and that improves your overall mood and give you a better day.
A kiss a day keeps the sadness away.
Exactly. I mean, physiologically speaking, cuddling, holding hands, dancing together, deep eye contact, and kissing 5 seconds, all of these things help release and enhance oxytocin, which is really an amazing hormone in our body, really just positive things. So I highly recommend PDA, maybe a little PDA, a mini Power PDA.
Mini Power PDA.
Yeah. And then a really powerful PDA, but powerfully courteous.
Yeah. Coining so many terms right now. I love it.
Yeah.
Cass and I, we're people that I feel like once we know we want to try something, we kind of just try it. And at least for me, I have to remember, it's good to talk about things first. That's even when it comes down to PDA, even if it's like, I would just want you to kiss me more in public, jumping right into that without talking to someone first. I mean, it makes sense why you'd be like, it might not work the first time, or you might feel rejected if your partner doesn't engage the way that you wanted them to. So yeah, talk about things.
Well, and like everything else that we talk about, the first time you do it might not feel smooth, might not feel totally comfortable. It may be a little bumpy.
Yeah.
But I also, from personal experience, feel like just being willing to push myself a little bit and actually engage in the thing I'm nervous about helps me feel more comfortable in it, and gain that confidence to try it again. And then I'm a little bit more comfortable that next time and that next time and the next time. So,
right.
Yeah, you make a really good point. And it's fun, right? To always go back to, is it fun? I always tell my clients, you know, whenever you're trying to push yourself to do something, or you are thinking about whether or not doing this with a partner is wrong, or is it something unacceptable by other people, I always ask, is it fun? That's a good first question to ask. Is it fun? If it's, you know, if it gives you crippling anxiety and there is no fun in it, don't go there. You know, no need to go there. However, if you do push a little and you try and you do a little 5-second kiss, like in the middle of the cafeteria, and you feel like that was fun, hell yeah. You know, let's keep pushing.
That's so cute. Are you gonna try a 5-second kiss?
Yeah, I'll try a 10-second kiss.
Then you bump it up a notch, right?
10
and then
minutes.
soon enough, it's a hand job.
You go from 5-second, 10-second hand job.
Yeah, in the bush.
In the bush.
Because I am powerfully courageous.
Courteous.
Powerfully courteous.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
You're learning.
Exactly.
What if you and your partner, so I'm thinking about myself, where the people, big old thumb pointed right at me, where I've been with people who just will never get comfortable with PDA, whether it's like they pick up my hand for a few seconds and then they drop it, or, you know, they don't kiss, they don't really
Like a
physically-
hard boundary.
Yeah, like a hard boundary. That's just something that they're not comfortable with. How do you cope with feeling not rejected and, you know, like seen by your partner out in public if you guys are just so different?
Love that question. And I actually asked this before, long time ago, with actually my therapist. And what she told me, which I still use nowadays to most people, is it's not about you. Most things that people do in reaction to your behavior, unless you're being a really shitty person, most of the times it's not about you. You know, it's about them and their journey and their own path and their own healing. So I think reminding yourself a lot of times when you get rejected with your PDA advances is that it's not about me. It's not about me. You know, they're in a journey, a healing process. It's not about me. So I think reminding yourself that it's not about you is great. Another way I think is to help them heal is to try different modalities at home, different touch exercises, sensate focus, different sexuality exercises that have been kind of proven to help people feel more comfortable with their body, touch, different types of touches, and their sexuality. So I believe when you feel more comfortable there, it will then translate to a little bit more, you know, fun and freeing to do PDA.
So then what type of exercises could you do at home? Is that doing the like 5 to 10-second kiss, or, you know, looking deep into each other's eyes and ignoring people? Like what can you do?
Yeah, there's so many ways. Let's start with the Eastern modality. So in Tantra, which is an Eastern modality of, you know, living with passion and intimacy, and particularly in the West, we talk a lot about tantric sex practices. One of the things that couples can try is the practice called yap yumming. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, it's super fun. So you get naked or not. If you're a beginner, you don't have to. But you know, practitioners recommend getting naked because you're the most vulnerable, and that will really get your like the psychological workings going. So if you can, get naked, and then there's a base person that's sitting like crisscross applesauce, and then the other person sits on them with their legs around the waist.
Even before you said that, I knew that that's where you're going position-wise. That was weird. Please continue.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe it's in your nature to try the yum. Yeah. So that position is very vulnerable, very connected, very close. With that, you can, place your foreheads against each other and then start breathing at the same rhythm. This particular practice allows the other person to feel more comfortable, relationally, sexually, emotionally, spiritually with the other person. And I think when you're more comfortable in all of those aspects, the PDA come when you feel more free. Mm-hmm. That's the first practice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Who's going to be trying it?
Really beautiful. Both our hands are up.
Yeah. Just silence on the other end, but both of our hands are up. I love that. And I feel like practicing at home is such like a great reminder to people who are curious but scared, where it's like you can also practice PDA in the privacy of your own home before taking things out to the streets.
Yeah. And these unique exercises, I feel, can help people engage in like connectedness in a different way than just like kissing, making out, oral, then sex, right? Like it's so different that it allows you to break out of your shell a little bit and explore like what else is there. So maybe one day you'll yum and then you'll try that for a couple of weeks, and then another day you'll be having sex in a bush. You never know.
Really that easy.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah. You gotta walk before you can run.
I can't. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so funny.
As someone who is curious but a little nervous, would it help to start practicing maybe around people that you're more comfortable with? So I'm thinking of like,
I can just picture you and
smile off your face.
You're like making out in the corner.
That's what I meant. But that's cute. So like if I'm with my friends, if my partner and I are like, practice then and there, and then I'll take it to Central Park and a bush and,
You know how it goes. I 100% think that's valid, because part of being afraid of PDA is afraid of judgment. So if you're surrounded by people who love you and support you, that fear should be very low or none. Practice the PDA around your friends and the people that love you and support you first would be great. And then, Central Park and then the bush.
Again, the natural progression of things.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, I fully support you and Jurg, and I'll just smush your heads together next time I see you.
Yeah. Please help physically.
We'll all have like a kissing break. Not to each other, but
we'll set alarms in our phones.
Yeah.
A non-traditional practice that I do in my sex coaching practice is, are you ready to hear this? Mm-hmm. It is not to watch them have sex, but but I do ask them to make out. I do have them light up them. I say like, some of these couples that do want to work on this particular topic, I do have them like light candles and set up the mood, and then I meet them on Zoom, and then I just go, ignore me. I just want to see how you would behave when someone else is watching.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this is okay. Like some people ask me, why am I not a licensed therapist? When you're a licensed therapist, you can't do shit like this. Yeah.
I was going to say, there's got to be some rules for that one.
Yeah, lots of rules. So many rules. So I don't want to get my license revoked. I'm like, I don't need it from the first place.
Yeah.
But
that's the good shit too.
Yeah.
I have seen, okay, I'm thinking of this one particular couple. I have seen them evolve from like being really awkward and uncomfortable with each other to like passionately making out, and at some point forgot me and just shut down their laptop.
Stop it. I'm so happy for them and wherever they are today.
I emailed them afterward like, okay, I'm not charging for this session. I'm just so happy for you.
I'm just so that would actually be illegal. Charging to watch you.
Yeah, or I can charge more if you want me to watch you and give notes.
True.
So that was a happy moment. One of the happy moments.
That is so sweet and such a unique way to work on that in a supported environment that I never would have thought of. But when you're working with someone that you trust and being like, watch me.
Yeah.
That is
and you
so
know that
sweet.
that person like does not judge and supports you 100% and is actually pushing you. I think it's really helpful. But that's why it goes back to your point, like around your friends, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, I support you.
Yeah, I'll Zoom you later.
Yes.
If I get a call at like 11.
Yes.
Gosh, I don't want to watch you right now.
Feel free to FaceTime me.
Yeah. Set it up in front of Malone, my dog.
I'll give
That's actually
commentary.
creepier.
Like, oh, yeah.
When like my dog's in the room and I'm just like, you need to leave. This is worse.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree. I don't like it when my dogs are in the room or watching
Or
intimate
watching.
moments because it seems like they're too interested. I think that's what makes me uncomfortable. Just like if anybody else was too interested in watching me, that would make me uncomfortable as well.
Wow.
In public, in a bush, in the park,
Yeah.
my friends, whatever.
Well, also like dogs and like pets and sexuality, they're like exist in different realm. So when you combine them, it's pretty uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, 'cause
Although one could argue that you could practice PDA surrounded by your dogs.
That's true.
you could argue that. You sure could. Well, the worst part for me is that my dog wants attention when I'm not giving it to him. So he'll either bark or start like licking or pawing at me. And like that is not cool when I'm doing other stuff. So
Oh, I remember like with one of my exes, like he has a couple of dogs and I was, giving him we were in bed and I was giving him oral and his dog licked my asshole.
Oh
God. I love that you're just laughing. I know what it is.
I mean, I'm like, ooh, wait a minute.
Oh my God, that's not where I thought you were going. That's hilarious and terrible.
Oh
my God.
I actually just bust out laughing. I'm like, okay, I can't do this right now. I'm just, your dogs gotta go. They gotta be outside.
Oh my God, that is so fucking funny.
That happened once.
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 And never
Not
again.
I hope not.
Not in that fashion. It was very unexpected.
Oh my God. I'm trying to see if I have anything else. Do you have any last burning questions for PDA?
I don't think
Power
so.
PDA? This has taken such a different turn than I initially thought because I'm like, how do I get my partners to fucking French me in public was my main approach.
Ooh.
But I love where we went with this because it really does target the core of what makes us uncomfortable, what is causing those judgments or the shame or what's holding us back. And so I feel like that's so important to answer those questions before we can move into physically engaging in public.
100%. I feel like that was a really awesome conversation.
Yeah, us too.
So, where can our listeners continue connecting with you after this episode?
Yes, my website is lovebites.co. That's LUVBITES.co. All of my information's on there, all the fun, juicy stuff.
I just had a
Burpee.
I had a little toad in my throat. I had to get it out.
Ribbit.
I wish that's how burps sound. Ribbit.
I wish. I'm going to
Ribbit.
train my body. It's like, you know how some people get like their tongue split in two or like get horns implanted. Or
These are all tying in perfectly with what your example.
I'm going to get my hiccup, my burp changed. And my hiccup, for that matter. I want my hiccup to sound like an oink.
Where are you right now?
Thank you so much to Dr. Tara for being on the podcast today.
Finish it off.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in, holding on, and keeping going with us.
So hold on and keep going
to our Apple Podcasts, where you can rate, review, and subscribe. Mm-hmm. And then also you can rate us on Spotify.
Yeah, you can.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
If you want to leave a little comment to let us know that you are reviewing us because you loved this episode so much. I don't know, like the kissies.
Yeah, I was just going to say anything kissing. Mm-hmm. Hands holding.
And share this with people that you want to do some PDA
or
with.
A bush.
Or a bush.
Yeah, a bush would be
that's
funny.
Really funny.
Yeah.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Spread this around just like you would spread your love around in public.
Spread your legs, spread this episode.
Correct. Because it's important. Not only did we talk about just like loving and expressing yourself in public, but it's also, we touched on a lot of like big questions that you should ask yourself and, you know, your friend group when you're out in public and you're seeing people. And I mean, I was totally someone that was like when we were talking about judging people, like I've been there and I have done that.
Yeah. You've done that.
I've
done that once or twice.
Done that once or twice.
All right.
Well, all right. On that note,
it's been real.
It sure has been. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.